Good morning, I'm Dr. Sid Thurman, and I came out this morning to meet Cha-Cha, and she is a coming 5-year-old German warm blood, and what seems to have been going on with her lately is she's had some weight loss, her coat is a little dull, not as shiny as it ought to be. We've had some performance issues. We're not quite sure maybe if she has ulcers or a digestive problem. We'll talk about her plan of nutrition. We'll go over chiropractically, and we can do a traditional physical exam as well if I deem that that's needed. But we will start with my rudimentary exam. And I start out with what's called Chinese pulse diagnosis. And what I'm looking for is a deficiency in one or more of her meridians. The meridians in the horse, just like in the human, traverse the body like a road map. So if you can find a deficiency or an excess in a meridian, it'll point you towards a region of a body where your problem might lie. A little bit of liver deficiency. And pretty strong stomach. So again, all the meridians begin and end at our fingers and toes. So on the horse they only have one toe left. So all the meridians begin and end around their coronet band. These points are very powerful. They're called ting points. And I'm going to put a needle into her stomach ting point. Bilaterally. This is in an effort to balance her so that this imbalance doesn't continue to overshadow the rest of my exam. Whenever there's been a history of weight loss, I always check the horse's teeth. Her teeth feel good. She doesn't appear to need a dental. And then I go into a diagnostic acupuncture exam. And what I'm palpating here with my needle cap are acupuncture points that will point me towards areas of the body that might be having a problem. If you'll remember on the last horse, we had a reaction here which could indicate pole or the opposite hip, and we did in fact end up with a fixation of the sacrum on the opposite side. This is your point for this is your trigger point for ulcers, and she doesn't appear to be very reactive there. So ulcers sort of fall down on our list of differentials. I'm going over ovary right now and kidney. If she were to be having ovary, we're just coming into long days here in Arizona, so their cycles are kicking off. And an ovary can cause a horse to be painful, and pain will cause a horse to go off their feed. So just quickly, we've put ulcers down the list. We've put ovary pain down the list.
Are those as possibles, or you've eliminated those?
I haven't eliminated them. Everything is always related, so it's never eliminated. You just put it further down your list of possibilities. We've got a little bit of reactivity here in the low cervical.
He likes it, whatever you're doing. Whoops. There's a reaction.
She's not showing me a whole lot. Some horses are very thin-skinned and very reactive, and everywhere you touch them, they act like they hurt. Some horses tell you next to nothing, so the needle cap exam doesn't yield me a lot of information, so then I go straight into my chiropractic exam, and I take every segment through a range of motion. You want lateral flexion, goes to the right and to the left, extension, flexion, and then I start investigating each cervical segment. So I go through C1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, and she's extremely flexible on this side. What I want to see her do is bring her nose to her elbow, and she can do it readily. But just for a sense of completeness, I always check the first rib. And that one's fine. I didn't expect much because I didn't find much with the needle cap exam, but I still check every segment. Her knee just adjusted. Checking the sesamoids so that your flexor tendons and your suspensory ligament can glide. And then we check decoaptation of the shoulder joint. Perfect. And then you start over on the other side. C1, nothing there. C2, nice. C3, C3 feels a little tight. I was able to move C3 nicely. Whenever you get a lick and a chew, that means they got relief. I'm down to C4. C4 is kind of tight as well. Now I'm going to check 6 and 7 in T1. I know. This one can be kind of painful, especially if it's out. When a horse has had this done on a regular basis, they just usually are standing at their stall ringing the nurse's button when the vet arrives, when your veterinary chiropractor arrives. This mare, I've not had my hands on her much, and she's a little bit of a diva, so there we go. Okay, so I didn't find anything on the left side of her cervical vertebrae. Found a couple of spots on the right. There's also diagnostic acupuncture points along this bladder meridian for the small intestine, so you would want to check those. The fore part of the intestinal system is responsible for absorbing nutrition, and the aft part is responsible for absorbing water. Again, I didn't find anything in the small intestine meridian that would lead to weight loss. So her teeth are good. She doesn't appear to have ulcers. She doesn't appear to have ovary pain. She doesn't appear to have ribs out. So the next thing we would start discussing would be, has her diet changed? Have you moved her from one barn to another? Emotions can play a role in this. Did she lose a stablemate? Is she she could be upset over that. Horses share a lot of emotions with people, and grieving is one of them. Now, if you'll recall with the other horse, he was extremely painful in his sacrum. She is not. And she's got good motion on both sides. So, I sort of think in flow charts. The first thing I think of when an animal is ill animal, infectious, non-infectious. If it's infectious, we will have, number one, an increase in temperature, loose stools, snotty nose, cough, anything indicative of something infectious in nature, be it bacterial or viral. If it's no increase in temp, I rule out infectious. So now we go to non-infectious reasons why this horse would be irritable. She's off her performance, and she's lost weight. Have you changed her diet at all?
Yeah, she was put onto a new concentrated feed.
Was that before or after the weight loss?
After. Well, before, no, probably. She was put on it kind of eventually, so probably a little bit of combination of both. So there was a lot of changes all at once.
Okay,
She
tell me
was
about
moved.
She was moved.
She was moved.
And before they moved her, they took away a stablemate.
Took away a stablemate, and her feed changed slightly, her grain mixture.
Okay.
And she was treated in April for a severe reaction to a West Nile shot.
Okay.
You remember that, and we detoxed her. And
Okay.
she did have like a respiratory infection.
Okay.
So,
Was she on any traditional antibiotics?
no.
Okay. But the signs and the symptoms of the West Nile have subsided, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still a smoldering residue of that in there. We detoxed her once, she got better, she's still not completely right. We can run blood on her. I doubt that it'll show us anything. We can do a fecal exam to look for parasites, but I would assume that she's on a regular rotational deworming protocol. Okay. When was the last time she was dewormed?
Probably about a month ago.
And what did you use?
I think it's the Strongyte. We rotate from the ivermectin to the Strongyte to the Pancure.
Okay. Yeah, coming up in April will be time for Panicure.
Yeah.
So hit her with the Panicure. Panicure is the only dewormer on the market that gets a specific species of worm. They're called encysted strongyles. And what they do is they burrow into the gut lining and they create a cyst around those cells. And the drug just floats right by them. So at least once a year, and I recommend every April, a horse get a dose of Panicure so we can get those encysted strongyles. None of the other dewormers can get them. So she may have a small amount of encysted strongyles. My thought is, as a holistic practitioner, is that it's a little bit of everything. She lost the stablemate, that upset her. The weight loss probably started. You changed her diet, that upset her further. The weight loss continued. She had the West Nile episode, the severe reaction to the vaccine. That kicked her immune system into a downward spiral, so she's rebounding from that. I'd hit her with the Panicure. I love a product called Missing Link, or anything that's really high in omega-3s.
Right now, she's on Rice-Span and a concentrated feed. What are your thoughts on these concentrated feeds? Because I'm wondering if the more natural approach is just a small amount of oats.
Well, the most natural diet for a horse is what's called cob, corn, oats, and barley. And with my horses, since they're high-end performance horses as well, they get 40% oats, organic, rolled, and 40% barley, and 20% corn. 20% corn can be a little bit much, but my horses race. So mine get 40, 40, 20 of corn, oats, and barley. And if you buy a nice quality organic product, the only thing I think I like to add, depending on the horse's age, is a really good mineral supplement to make sure that even the organic products haven't lost their mineral value, you know, because the soil has been depleted.
Right.
So a nice mineral supplement. And then again, depending on their age, do they need something for their joints? As a horse ages, the not only the quality but the quantity of joint fluid depreciates in value. But this is a young mare; she shouldn't need a joint supplement. I think she's probably going to come around. It's summertime. She may lose more weight before she gains it back because it's going to get hot.